I miss Ray. I never see Ray enough.
We used to share egg creams at the Comedy Cellar, and then he got a big hit TV show, and they started printing money just to hand directly to him.
He's part of the whole bailout mess. But it's his new show that he took another big leap that's fantastic.
I took a pay cut.
We're trying.
But that's true.
We're trying. Garry gave you your first job in writing, didn't he?
Garry hired me to write jokes for the Grammys in 1990.
Yeah.
You all remember it.
Yeah.
And I do remember some of the jokes.
Fire away.
I remember you had some joke, a country band came out and the guy had these crazy sideburns, and you said, I've never seen sideburns like that before, and I'm a Trekkie.
That's right. That is one of Judd's jokes. And also, didn't you...
That was your joke.
That was my joke.
My joke was, why am I hosting the Grammys? Obviously, I have nothing to do with music, but actually, I do have something to do with music. My girlfriend used to do the guy in Uriah Heep.
That's right out of my journal.
You had one of the best moments I ever saw on television. Bob Dylan had just accepted the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah.
Right, and it took forever, and he made no sense, and Nicholson presented it to him, and you came out, and after a really long pause, you said, Jack Nicholson and Bob Dylan were just discussing how they should do more television.
What I learned from that. You see, certainly when I started, and I think a lot of comics still feel this way, and haven't made the transition, is they think of everybody as an object. So that's an object for a joke because he was on before me. But if you end up then actually meeting the person,
yes,
there's an apology necessary.
I'm of the younger generation, so I just wonder for all of you, who are you?
All right, now you can talk.
It's so good. It's so good because it's so mutual. I mean that, the truth is, I saw your special like just a couple weeks ago. I was really into what you were doing, and I said, now who is this? And then...
He thought you were Emo Phillips.
I mean, it's one thing for a heckler to have to heckle you on stage and own that moment, but when people are faceless and don't have to get the repercussions for that,
what's the worst thing they've said about you?
The first comment I ever got was when I was 15. It was "Go Go Gadget Faggot." That's all it was.
Well, all right, wait a second. That seems supportive.
I know.
And honestly, I meant it as supportive.
We were racing to that.
I know. We just cut you right off at the turn.
No.
Sorry, man.
Just as well, as long as someone said it.
So when I first met Bo, I asked him who his favorite comic is, and he said Hans Theeuwen. Exactly. He's a Dutch comedian. And when I met you, you were 9? I can't really talk about it because of the restraining order, but I was just blown away that you would even know who he was.
Wait, what's his name?
Hans Theeuwen.
Can you do a little bit of this thing?
He's a Dutch absurdist. One of the things he does is he brings out a sock puppet, which is a black sock.
See, already I don't like him.
Yeah, no. All right. It's a white sock.
Oh,
and then well, it just seems like there's the really only rules about stand-up comedy is you have to stand up on stage and you have to be funny. And there seems to be all these invisible rules that people put up, like, starting with your second best joke, ending with your best joke.
Who told you this?
Yeah, where?
I don't know. I took a comedy class. No, I didn't.
When I was 19 at the University of Arizona, I'd never been in a comedy club in my life. And I saw that George Carlin was appearing at a club in Phoenix, and I took my material naively up to see if he would look at it, because I sat down and wrote some material that I thought was right for Carlin. And he was standing by the bar, and I asked him if he would read the material, and he said, well, I write my own stuff, but I'll look at it. And he said, come back tomorrow night. And the next night I drove back. He, as it turned out, took me into his dressing room and had read everything and said, man, I think you're really funny. I think you're very green, but there's something funny on each page, because I think what he sensed is the essence of something funny. And then that can be developed. Because at the core, your essence is funny, then you just attach it to your personality, which clearly should be checked.
Hey, Gary, I got a couple of jokes that I...
Yeah, my Carlin conversations were never really quite that. He would just call me on the phone. I'd go, hello, and he'd go, why don't men like to sleep with their women in the mornings? I'd go, I don't know, and he'd go, do you ever try and open a grilled cheese sandwich? Click. That
So he was using my stuff.
apparently. Outtakes from Raymond on YouTube, and every take you did a different punchline, and each one was funnier than the next.
Well, before we would tape the show, I would sit down with one or two writers and go, let's see if there are any second takes to do that kind of stuff. But I still thought of them.
Yeah.
I just...
He gave himself more of a compliment because that's the preparation that then allows him to get even freer after he does all that stuff.
Right.
That's the Zen Buddhism in you.
Yeah.
You've been on a real introspective journey, haven't you?
Till now, that's right.
No, because Marc and we've talked about this on his podcast, WTF podcast. It's the best. It's unbelievable. I highly recommend doing it. So we get really personal, and we had a conversation where we were talking about how introspective we got and how it screwed with us. And
Is that the same as self-obsessive?
in your case, absolutely.
But I mean, how do you make the shift? Introspective sounds like actually noble.
Do you know you're self-obsessive?
Yes.
Then you're introspective.
Well, there's a difference, though. You can still be introspective and not show any of that on stage directly.
Oh.
Like, I don't talk about life.
I mean, you're so clearly, if I make this is a compliment, you are so clearly a very unique fellow that it's clear that just by being yourself, that stuff comes out of you. It doesn't mean that you have to talk about yourself necessarily.
Right. No. Right. Yeah.
Just play along. Just play along.
I know that you've been on an internal journey, a spiritual journey. Would you call it a spiritual
Yeah,
journey?
it's pronounced spiritual.
Thanks.
I've been meditating far too long to be happy about anything. I'm at peace, but I really don't know what I want to say about this.
Well, Gary brought one of his monk friends, a very serious monk, to the set of Knocked Up one day. And I was, a little nervous. And what it turned out we were shooting was a woman wearing a prosthetic vagina, and the head would just come in and out for that scene in the movie. And so we have Gary and the monk at the monitor, and I'm just going like, okay, head out of vagina. Head in vagina.
And the monk is in his robe,
Yes.
with a shaved head, with headphones on.
Yes.
And there's really nothing to hear except him yelling, "That's too far out."
Yeah.
And yet the beauty of it is I was watching him and he would smile because he felt what was happening was funny.
So in the movie Knocked Up,
Yes.
a head was coming in and out of a vagina?
Well, in the movie it just came out.
Oh, I
But you see, Ray, when you shoot a movie,
You thought it was like an indecisive baby?
but we forgot, the key to it is, this monk, is that he has 7 fingers.
Yeah.
And
In total?
In total. And so he comes to our hotel room, and my wife instantly just said, "What happened to your fingers?"
Yeah.
Which usually you would wait a minute to ask somebody. And so now my children are there, and I'm thinking, well, this is a great moment because he'll teach them about Buddhism, and this will change their lives.
Yeah.
And so he said, well, in order to really practice and teach, I burned them off. I covered them with cloth, and I lit them on fire, and I meditated as a way of testing myself to be strong so I could teach other people.
And your kids are...
And my kids are like, holy shit, And then I hung out with the monk all day, and then I came back, and I said to my wife, what do you think of the monk? Hoping, like, in addition to the finger thing, she had a spiritual moment. And she just said, that guy's fucking nuts.
Are you that dedicated?
If I didn't bowl, I would burn.
stand-up comedy and comedy seems so inherently Western. So like to understand Eastern, and that might be me being sued.
No, you're.
But how does that affect your perspective on comedy? Because I don't
Yeah,
really
lay down
think of
some wisdom,
Eastern.
man.
Wow.
Yeah.
What happened?
Oh, that is the correct question. The answer to that takes a tad of time. I think the Eastern philosophy really encourages authenticity, and nothing but authenticity. What I saw when I saw you on stage is I didn't see a fake moment.
It's very hard to watch someone that funny, that young, when you think of how unfunny you were at 20 years old.
All I did at 20 is worry about my hair, I think.
Yeah, that's a dead end.
He hugged me once, my father, and I was about 20, and it felt very awkward. And I know now what made it awkward, the nudity.
My mom would tuck me in and say, fuck me, honey.
Did your father hug you and then in your ear say, I don't want to live anymore?
You know, I could never make out what he was saying, but it sounded like that.
I want to know if you've attained anything through your study of Buddhism.
I don't know if attained is the right word. So with the whole thing's a mess. I mean, you get closer to just being.
What exactly does that mean? So translate it into comedy, what it means.
Oh my God.
Translate it into comedy?
As a comic,
I will.
How do you?
I will. It's closest to where he's starting, which is I'm not really trying to be anything right now. I'm sitting down. This is what I do.
There's a thing in Gary's DVD where he's talking to Jerry Seinfeld, and he was saying, Gary, you know, it's not all about pain. You don't have to be in pain to be funny. Isn't it about talent? Can't you just be born with like a God-given gift and you're just a talented person and you can communicate and it's all about that?
I said, I hear rage.
Well, I just think the absolute comedy comes from pain. I think kind of limits what comedy is, because I think comedy comes from love, it comes from like fear, it comes from hate.
right.
You're going to tell me you're not fucking angry?
Oh, no.
I mean, come on, I saw that song. I see how you
No,
look.
no,
I know what you went through.
No, total anger, but to say that it's...
You're angry at Justin Bieber, aren't you?
But I'm arrogant.
It comes from everything. It comes from everything is what you're saying.
But the anger there, I don't think that's damage that I need to fix. I'm just like stuck up enough to think that they're wrong.
We've just focused on anger here and all that stuff, and the problems with the parents. But there will be other elements that include love and everything else you've mentioned, that as you sort those out, they will continue to be fodder for your next song.
Right.
That's all. It's whatever you're sorting out.
Yeah. Just that absolute comedy.
But someone who isn't
pain,
sorting out that stuff within them.
Right now.
Are we meeting here again next week?
Yes. It's helping me tremendously.
But all my journey is to be authentically who I am, not trying to be somebody else under all circumstances.
Have you found confusion?
And sure, there isn't. The whole world is confused because they're trying to be somebody else. To be your true self, it takes enormous work. Then we could start to look at the problems in the world. But instead, ego drives it. Ego drives the world. Ego drives the problems. So you have to work in an egoless way. This egolessness, which is the key to being authentic, is a battle. And it's a battle that has to be won before we're worried about the economy.
And I think that for a comic, it's a dangerous battle.
So
Yeah, I'm curious. Do you think being a comic sort of like stunts our growth in that direction?
I would say that I struggle to not have that happen. That's my struggle.
Yeah, but why did the birds fall out of the sky?
First of all, I don't think really a lot of them are that good at flying. Secondly, you know, everybody takes it for granted. There's a bird. We're talking about how hard it is to be a comic, and we know they're all different. All of a sudden, 500 birds fell. How many guys haven't made it through the improv?
I'm assuming that I will get a little bit of an understanding of what your journey towards enlightenment has been like. I want to understand why.
This is not a safe environment to do it.
What would be a safe environment?
Well, you just keep asking me about it.
But I feel that you're very close to the vest about your experience, and I'm
We
genuinely...
need something in our society that says there's some importance to heart and authenticity, not just money, power, and how are we going to control the world.
I love you, Garry Shandling! Bo Burnham! Judd Apatow!